Hi, I'm Rabbi Josh Cahan, and this is part of the Yedid Nefesh video series. I want to talk for a few minutes about Vehi She'amda. It's very well known as a song, but it's also one of the central core texts that people come back to again and again in the Haggadah. Vehi She'amda lavotenu v'lanu. This promise, the promise God made to Abraham, has stood firm for our ancestors and for us. Why for both? Because not only once did people rise up to destroy us, the Egyptians, but in every generation there are those who rise up against us. Part of the Jewish neuroticism, they're always out to get us. But there are certain ways in which it's true, and we especially feel it in this moment. In each generation, there are those who rise up against us, and God always saves us from their hand. That is a statement of supreme confidence. Except, what is that promise that God made to Abraham? The initial narrative in the Haggadah is about a triumphant victory over oppression. Our freedom, a result of a great act of divine intervention. It's not only a decisive victory. We were slaves and God defeated our enemies with great might. It's a permanent one. We are forever free of Egypt. We owe our freedom evermore up to the present to that one act of divine heroism. However, after offering that simple narrative, the Haggadah quietly backtracks, beginning the story much earlier, before the slaves, before Jacob, all the way back at the promise or prediction that God made to Abraham. We say, Baruch Shomer Havtachato L'Yisrael, blessed is God who keeps God's promise to Israel, the promise that God made to Abraham that God would bring us out of slavery. But wait, God's not talking to the slaves, promising, I'll bring you out. God's talking to Abraham. This is the guy who successfully carried God's mantle his whole life, who at the end of his life, it says that God blessed Abraham in everything. Berach et Abraham bakol. Here, God's actually telling Abraham that whatever promises God made to him about descendants as numerous as the stars or the sand, about inheriting the land, the road to reach those promises will be long and difficult, passing through deep valleys as well as lofty peaks. This is not God saying, don't worry, I'll always keep them safe no matter what comes. God's telling him, your children, they will endure hardship, heartache, and terrible loneliness. What I can promise is that I will stay with them in those low places and help them endure until the time comes when I can bring them out. This story is not one of just oppression to freedom. It's one of falling from a place of safety and only gradually getting back to the original place, having been transformed in the process. And that, not God as a force field fending off threats, is the promise that we celebrate in Vehi She'amda, that's meant to endure through the generations. We're not claiming that danger's in the past. We're recognizing the opposite, that in every generation there will be more pharaohs, more dangers, more challenges. And what God has promised us is that God will be with us in those times of trial and will ultimately, however long it takes, see us through the other side.